What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Hey, it. So be it. So be it. All right, all right, all right. What's good? What's good? What's going on? What's going on? We back in the building, man. We've been gone for a while, but we back to talk about a lot, man. We got a lot to get into today. We got some WNBA news, man. We had the WNBA All-Star game the other day, and the WNBA players came out and pay us what you owe us t-shirts. They're actually going under a collective bargaining agreement, so the WNBA players want to get paid more. We got Damian Lillard, who has returned to Portland. He has returned to the Portland Trailblazers after being with the Milwaukee Bucks for 2 years. He has officially re-signed with the Trailblazers. We have Bradley Beal getting bought out and signing with the Clippers, and then we have Paul George getting knee surgery. So we got quite a bit to get into today. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. But what up to everybody who's watching, man? We're gonna get into a lot of stories today. We're gonna do a little bit of a shorter stream today. You know, it's a Sunday. We got probably more news to get into. I'll be streaming again most likely on the Wednesday or next Saturday. So we're gonna be going ahead and doing that. But we're going to go ahead and start with this WNBA story first off. So we're going to start with this little article right here. So we got the WNBA fans slam stars for protesting their pay after a league posted a $40 million loss last year. And like I said before, the WNBA players are actively, WNBA players and the WNBA Players Association are actively undergoing a collective bargaining agreement right now, just similar to the NBA and how others, and you know, they're protesting. They wore shorts saying, pay us what you owe us. So we're going to get into this and see if they're actually getting paid what they're owed. But first, we're going to go over this article right here. So Caitlin Clark and her WNBA players wore t-shirts telling league bosses to pay us what you owe us as talks over collective bargaining agreement stalled during last week's All-Star game. That's right here. So again, Caitlin Clark and her fellow WNBA players wore shirts telling league bosses to pay us what you owe us as talks over a new collective bargaining agreement. Negotiations between the WNBA and Women's Basketball Players Association have continued in Indianapolis, but have failed to reach a deal and erase friction between the two sides. In fact, many WNBA players were disappointed in the lack of progress in the in-person session in Thursday that was attended by 40 players. The negotiations certainly didn't narrow the gap between the two sides. So WNBA, man, and the players and the Players Association, they are not happy. I guess they expected talks to get be a little bit faster, push along a little bit more. I believe that the last WNBA collective bargaining agreement actually rose the WNBA by a significant amount, like their salaries, which is pretty interesting. And it got them like flights and stuff like that. Before, I think they were taking like regular commercial flights, but they're able to get a little bit more private flights for a lot of the games during the season as well. So a couple other things that were added in the last collective bargaining agreement. So the dispute began when the Players Union announced that after the 2024 season, they would opt out of the CBA on October 31st, 2025. So that's coming up real soon. With the television revenues on the rise, largely due to the presence of Caitlin Clark, the players want a larger piece of the pie. So here we got Caitlin Clark here. This is one of the shirts that some of them are wearing to pay us what you owe us. So pretty much all of the players in the WNBA All-Star game were wearing all these same shirts. So even though these players be beefing against each other, this is the one thing that they can all decide on, that they can agree on, is pay us what you owe us. Here we have Paige Booker's wearing the shirt. We have Angel Reese right here. We got a lot of players doing that right there. So let's get into this. So as the New York Post in October pointed out, the WNBA was set to lose $40 million last season, and NBA owners were starting to get frustrated by it. So holy. So we're getting to a point now where not only are the WNBA players losing it, but some of the NBA owners are starting to lose it as well too. And if people don't know, the WNBA, well, I'm sure most people know this, but the WNBA is actually subsidized by the NBA. So the WNBA started as a league in the 90s that they wanted to develop the women's part of the game. So all the NBA teams and the NBA owners essentially subsidize the WNBA. And the WNBA, since its inception, has not made profit in any single year since its inception. So that's something to keep in mind about it as well too. So the The NBA owns 60% of the league, and owners were pressing Commissioner Adam Silver for answers on when they can expect a return on their investment. There's a lot of money coming into the league over the next few years with a new 11-year media rights deal worth $2.2 billion, 3 new expansion teams that pay $250 million in fees, and many new sponsorships. However, forecasts for this season remain unclear, and fans question whether players should be paid more or not, as the league has been operating at a loss. So this is something that's been a long talked about topic for a long time. WNBA players obviously want to get more money. Everybody wants to get paid more money, but does it make business sense? Because the WNBA has not made a profit ever in its history, ever. So the WNBA started in, I believe, 1990, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see the first WNBA season. First WNBA season was in 1997. So from 1997 all the way to 2025, the WNBA has never made a profit. And in fact, this year they actually lost $50 million. In a season where they had Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they had that rivalry going on and people were watching more than they ever had watched it. They still lost $50 million. Does that mean that they're going to lose $50 million in the future? Absolutely not. But it's something to keep in mind. And then here's the actual video of the WNBA players.
For fun, but this is also a business trip. This was just moments ago after the anthem. They revealed these shirts that say, "Pay us what you owe us," because, of course, right now, amid the backdrop of All-Star, they're having negotiations and meetings right now with the Players Association about this new CBA. And what do you make of this move to very publicly say to the league and put them on alert, we want this money?
First of all, that's probably the best part of being a fan, a part of the community of the WNBA. They stand on business, whether it is the basketball or just advocating for themselves or their communities. This is probably the biggest and most impactful negotiations in the history of women's sports. And they know the numbers. They understand that the interest is at an all-time high. Look at attendance, merchandise, revenue.
Now, she talks about merchandise revenue, all that sort of stuff, but even though that's on the rise, they still haven't made money. Now, is that to say that they won't make money in the future, that as the game grows, that they won't make more money? Absolutely not. But this is what the WNBA players want. They want, bring me my money. They want that moolah. They want that money. That's exactly what they want. But right now, the numbers, and I understand from the NBA owner standpoint, is that you shelled out a bunch of money since 1997 to be able to grow and develop this league. And at a certain point, you are going to want a return on your investment. And at a certain point, it does not make sense to increase the standard for all the WNBA players if there's not a return on investment, bro. These guys are billionaire owners. So they're not going to just shell out money if it doesn't make sense. These guys did not make their money by just being reckless with their money. So,
and I do believe that they were caught off guard by probably not the expected initial offer, but we understand also that this is a business. But they are standing on it because, did you guys see that picture of how many players attended?
Yes.
The first reveal?
They had to bring new chairs in.
Exactly.
So they got all the All-Star players taking a selfie before they attend the CBA meeting.
This is how the players...
I've never seen WNBA player or NBA players come together and, take a selfie before a CBA meeting. I've never seen that before. But hey, this is a camaraderie, man. You got to appreciate it.
And I would tell you, all, if not most of your favorite players were in that meeting because they wanted to show unity and show that they want that investment that they so long deserved.
I was with Sydney Colson this morning, and she was talking to me about how the players understand business. And right now, things seem like the WNBA, the commissioner, they feel like the players don't understand business. But the players are saying, no, we understand the numbers. We actually do know the numbers, and we want our pay to reflect that.
And when people say, like, oh, how do you know they know business?
I don't think they know the numbers. I'm gonna be honest. This is like I don't think they understand the numbers. Now, this is something that somebody says when they want to seem like they understand what's going on, but they don't understand the numbers, bro. Because the NBA owners are looking at it, it's like, listen, bro, like we in our most popular year, our most viewed year, all the merchandise, everything, having Clayton Clark, Angel Reese, all that stuff, we still lost $50 million. So that's what the owners are looking at. The players are looking like the increased viewership, all the merchandise is increasing, but they don't understand that even though all the stuff is still increasing, there's more viewership, y'all still have not made a profit. And in fact, all the NBA teams, every single NBA team in the league is profitable. So for the NBA owners to be able to compare the WNBA to the NBA, for them, it's just a huge business no, because every single team in the NBA is profitable last year. So for them to look at the WNBA, I mean, again, it's still a developmental league. There's still growth. There's still potential stuff there. But when you're losing $50 million in your most in your most successful year, it is not a good sign for that business. And again, the WNBA is owned 60% by the NBA and some of their owners. So they're looking at this like, man, when are we going to get our return on investment, man? Like, this league started in 1997. Right now, there's a couple teams that are getting expansion. They have to pay an expansion fee to be able to join the league. And they're just waiting for their money, man. They just need to see some signs of progress, bro. Like, you cannot, this is an Amazon where they have the strategy where they just continue investing in the league, investing and growing it, where they're making a profit, but they're putting it back in the league to be able to grow it. WNBA has not made a profit at all. So let's see here. So the WNBA players opted out of the current CBA last October. Expected expiration date will be this October 2025. A working stoppage looms if the two sides can't come to an agreement before the start of next season. So if they do not come to an agreement before October of 2025, there might be a WNBA lockout, man. And I don't know, maybe I can ask y'all, who do you think has more leverage in a potential WNBA lockout, man? You think it's the players or do you think it's the owners? Because I don't really see them budging on this. So let's see. The biggest point of contention, of course, is the distribution of money in a league set to make a reported $200 million per year for its media rights and charging $250 million entry fee from the 3 upcoming expansion teams. So those 3 expansion teams that were announced, I believe there was one in Golden State. There's one in Toronto. I don't remember where the other one is, but there's a third one. I think it was in, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in New York or something like that. Or no, I forgot exactly where it is. But it's going to be, there was a third team that was just recently announced. And so the WNBA is charging a pretty penny. That's a lot of money per expansion team. But yeah, it looks like the WNBA players are not very happy with what they're saying or what they're hearing from the CBA negotiations. And I think the average salary for a WNBA player right now is probably like around $70,000, $75,000. A lot of the players often have to play overseas because they just don't make enough money to be with the WNBA salary to be able to make money year round. They do make money from some sponsorships. Like if you're a big enough player like Aja Wilson or Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. Angel Reese has a crazy amount of sponsorships, but the average WNBA player is not making a lot of money, bro. The $70,000, bro. So I can see why they definitely want more money in the CBA, but this is not looking good, man. And it says here, let's read this article right here. So this goes into it a little bit more. So breaking down WNBA players' CBA demand after All-Star Game shirts go viral. So anyone who's just joining in right now, the WNBA players in their All-Star Game are all wearing these shirts here. Pay us what you owe us. Essentially, there's a collective bargaining agreement that's going on with the WNBA and their players. It's about to expire this year, October 2025. And if they don't come to agreement by that point, there's going to be a WNBA lockout. So this is our first story for tonight. Let's read this here. Let's read this last article on this one. So they made a powerful statement before Saturday night's All-Star Game when they put together a show of solidarity by wearing a pregame warm-up shirt with the one simple demand to the league: pay us what you owe us. This message comes amid the players' ongoing collective bargaining agreement with the CBA negotiations with the WNBA and their current CBA set to expire at the end of the season. Men on social media, people have many shared reactions and a blunt message as some seem confused as to how players can be demanding more money when the WNBA is still unprofitable. Let's get into this. So some people say instead of lobbying for a fair percentage of the league shared revenue, WNBA vet and Los Angeles Sparks star said back in 2022, we're not asking to get paid what the men get paid. We're just asking to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared. Let's see here. So in the WNBA, players reportedly only received 9.3% of league revenues per market watch. And that single digit percentage is much lower than what the athletes in other professional sports in the NHL, NFL and NHL, what the other professional sport leagues earn. NFL and NHL players get roughly half of all revenue. Oh my God, I didn't even know that. Now, the WNBA did lose $40 million in 2024, but this is in large part due to the TV deal that they're currently signed to, which in 2026 goes from roughly $45 million annually to $200 million annually. So this will result in essence a league making more money overnight, losing 40 to a net gain of $115 million just on the TV deal alone. Even if the game tickets and sales tickets were to stop growing and merch stop selling, it would still be in the green. So the current CBA amount players from 1.5 salary cap to just 4.5 million. Substantial raise, however, it would cost the league 2.5 million out of 150 million. The players got 40%. That's $117 million salary cap, 11 times raise over their current salaries. Holy. And this is why you got to dig deeper into what articles and stuff are saying. So essentially what this article is saying is like, yes, the WNBA is unprofitable, but only under the current collective bargaining agreement, which had a lower amount overall for their TV deals. But with this new TV deal set to kick in, where they're going to make the TV deals were $200 million annually versus $40 million annually. The NBA players, the WNBA players, essentially saying we just want a bigger cut of that percentage of the new deal that's about to kick in. So that makes a lot more sense. Now that I'm saying this, so WNBA players receive only 9.3% of the league's revenue. So NBA, NFL, other leagues, they get close to 50% of what the revenue is. So you know what? Looking more into this, seeing the fact that yes, the WNBA did lose $40 million, but this was under the old CBA that's set to retire this season. I think it's fair. Shout out to Water X, man. What's up with the Water X? Is Paul George going for surgery? Paul George has actually already went for surgery, my guy. He has already went for surgery. Paul George going for surgery. Paul George has already went to surgery, and we're going to get into that story a little bit later as well too. I'm just going to finish up with this one first. But yeah, so honestly, again, the WNBA still is not profitable, but I do think that they have a point when it comes to this specific thing. If before we were losing money, but under an old TV deal that made us the league $40 million per year, and the next year we have a deal that's going to kick into $200 million a year, and we're only receiving less than 10% of the total revenue, where other leagues the other players get 50% of the league, they damn near should split it 50-50 between the owners and between the players, then it makes sense for the WNBA players to be able to ask for a larger portion of what they're currently getting. Even if it's just something like 15%, 20%, something like that, that still increases their salaries substantially. And with that new $200 million deal, it still gives the players, the owners of the NBA teams, the return on the investment that they were looking for. And as the game grows, as we get the more Caitlin Clarks, the more Angel Reeses, you know what I mean? These people coming into the league, I think that the game will grow significantly. We see what's happened to the women's college ball game recently as well. Like the NCAA tournament for the college last year, the women's tournament was even better than the men's tournament. So I don't think the WNBA is going to outpace the NBA anytime soon, but I do think that based on what we're seeing right now, this growth and trajectory is probably going to continue. And I think that even though they are losing money right now, I think it is fair for the WNBA to be able to ask, or their collective bargaining agreement to ask just for a higher percentage of what they're getting right now. Maybe not 50% right now, but I don't think that's going to be, reasonable or something that they're going to get. But I think for them to get 20, 25%, something like that, to be able to ask for that, I think that's fair. So shout out to Water X, man. We're going to get into the Paul George. So let's go into the Paul George story right here. So Paul George. So 76ers, Paul George just went undergo surgery for his offseason knee injury. So Paul George suffered an offseason knee injury a couple weeks ago. This article is from July 15th. And man, the 76ers cannot catch a break at all. The Philadelphia 76ers, they got to be cursed or something, man, because last season, this season, it's been nothing but injuries. Paul George had an injury last year. He ended the season early. Joel Embiid obviously had a season-ending injury, and their rookie as well. What was the name again? 76ers, who had an ACL injury. What was the name? Jared McCain. He had an injury as well too. Even Tyrese Maxey had an injury towards the beginning of the season. So it has just been not good overall. And I'm starting to ask, man, what is wrong with these 76ers doctors, man? I don't know if they're just not taking care of their players or just rushing players back, but it's not good right now. So 76ers Paul George undergoes surgery for offseason knee. 76ers forward Paul George, who was injured during an offseason workout, underwent a surgery on his left knee, the team announced. Oh my God. This guy was just doing an offseason workout and injured his knee again. And Paul George, let me remind you, is getting a little bit older as well. Paul George is not getting any younger as well. I think he's in his 30s now. He's 35. Yes, that's crazy. So 76ers, George underwent a successful arthroscopic procedure on the knee Monday at the NYU Lagoon Sports Medicine Orthopedic Center in New York with this doctor here. So George will now begin rehabilitation for program, which will, and his progress will be monitored regularly. He'll be reevaluated prior to the start of training camp. George, 35, was limited to just 41 games last season due to the injury he sustained to his knee, groin, and finger. He received several injections in his left knee in the 2024-2025 campaign. And the 15-year veteran averaged 16 points per game, the fewest since his 2014-2015 season, and also logged 5.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 1.8 steals per game over his 41 starts. Ah, man, this is absolutely terrible. So Paul George, who's he's had his injuries in the past. I'm not going to say he's injury prone, but last season with the Philadelphia 76ers was an absolute abysmal season. As you can see, he had his lowest average points that he ever had in his career since the 2014-2015 season, which I think might have been his second or third year in the league, something like that. So that was him just developing as a player. And Paul George, he got injured again, man. I mean, he is getting up there. He's 35 years old. And one thing I'll say about a lot of the NBA stars now, man, is that some of them are aging gracefully to the point where you almost kind of forget how old these guys really are. Like Paul George, 35. In my head, I'm thinking he's like 31, 32. But no, Paul George is 35, man. He's 35 years old. So him coming off another knee injury again, especially when he had one earlier in the season, one that he had to actually shut his whole season down for, is actually pretty alarming. And even before this happened, there was potential talks that Paul George might be traded or be in potential packages from Philadelphia just because of how bad the season was last year. We had the whole podcast debacle where this guy was doing podcasts in the middle of the season. That was not looking good at all as well. You have a team that was just disjointed, not playing well together. And then you had this man still doing podcasts in the middle of the season, man. You were like, oh, the entire team was like, what the hell's going on? That's everybody. That's everybody with Paul George in his goddamn podcast throughout the rest of the season. And eventually he had to shut the podcast down too. Eventually they said, listen, man, you got to focus on ball. You got to kill that podcast. And he did it. To his credit, he actually did it. But eventually he had to shut the season down anyways because he got injured. So this is pretty abysmal. I mean, in the NBA draft this year, the 76ers did draft VJ Edgecombe. And this dude, I ain't gonna lie, he be looking like a straight stud, bro. Like, so the fact that the 76ers drafted this guy, VJ Edgecombe, and you have an older guard who's injury prone or getting a little bit older in Paul George, I would say that that's enough of a red flag if I'm Paul George to be like, okay, maybe I might get traded, or my time in Philadelphia is not going to last that long. But that's what it is with Embiid. And then we had an ESPN reporter ripping the 76ers, and he called Embiid and Paul George the two worst valued contracts in the NBA. Two worst valued contracts in the NBA. So a top reporter took the blowtorch to the Philadelphia 76ers roster construction after news came that Paul George underwent arthroscopic surgery to his knee. The organization revealed Monday that George had a procedure after getting injured in the recent offseason. That's what we just covered. He will be reevaluated. George missed 41 games in his first season in Philadelphia after signing a max 4-year, $211 million contract. Oh my God. So Paul George, even though he's injured, even though he only played 41 games for the Philadelphia 76ers, that boy's getting paid. 4-year, $211 million contract, excuse me. Dude, oh my God. Left knee and abductor. He was eventually shut down in March after averaging only 16 points per game. Again, his lowest total. And then we also have the injury issues that we've had with Joel Embiid throughout his entire career as well, too. The other Max player, Joel Embiid, has yet to start basketball activities after undergoing arthroscopic surgery on his knee as well. Embiid only played 19 games last season. In fact, the big three, Embiid, George, and Tyrese Maxey, only took the court 15 times during the 2024-2025 season and missed a combined 131 games due to injury. Damn. Embiid was even given a 3-year, $193 million extension last September and is owed a whopping $242 million through the 2028-2029 season. God damn. These dudes are getting paid. Now, there was another article that came out recently about Joel Embiid. It's actually a long article. It's like a 1 hour long article or something like that. I know some of you motherfuckers don't like to read, but I'll probably go over that article sometime in the future. But from what I understand, is people have been talking about it's a really good article. It really humanizes Embiid. It talks about a lot of his struggles, a lot of what he went through with a lot of the injuries that he has in the NBA. It talks about, honestly, the Philadelphia 76ers rushing him back from a lot of injuries and causing him to get injured again, which is probably why Joel Embiid has been having so much issues, or throughout his career has had so many issues. I think a lot of the times he's just been rushed back when he had no business being back on the court. Sometimes he would rush himself back, he just wanted to be out there. But there's a lot of times where Joel Embiid was been rushed back early, still had an injury, and he had no business being on that court and still went out there anyways. And And the thing is, Joel Embiid is 7'1", bro. When you are that tall, you are that injury prone. You need to take time to allow your body to heal. And I do not think that the Philadelphia 76ers have done that. I don't think they've done a good job. And I think at this point too, because he has so much wear and tear on his body, no matter what you do, it's already too late. Because he's been in the NBA now for what, probably a little bit over a decade, Joel Embiid now. I think this year will be his 10th year in the NBA. So he's had so much wear and tear, injuries on his body, so many injuries, no matter what those doctors try to do, unless you can find some magical way or some sort of magical medical procedure to be able to heal him at this point, is not going to help. Right? So Embiid is always going to be injury prone. Embiid, I know there's a lot of talk over, players sitting out, the load management and stuff like that. But I don't think load management is an issue if players actually have real injuries, bro. The issue with load management is when you get players BSing, when they just don't want to play certain games or whatever like that. But when you have actual legitimate injuries, bro, load management is necessary, because would you rather have some players play a little bit or not at all because they're injured, because they're always injured? You know what I mean? So for me, for a player like Joel Embiid, where clearly he has these issues, he can't play long stretches of the game, maybe not an entire season, it does make sense for him to do load management, because the dude's body just cannot keep up. He's just too big, and the way Joel Embiid moves, the way the modern game is, the way how fast paced it is these days, it's just not built for a dude that big with limbs like that to be able to move for an extended period of time for a whole season. So, I mean, I guess it is what it is. He's still getting paid mad money. Those contracts in the NBA are guaranteed, so that's something else as well too. But here we go. 76ers are built on a flimsy foundation. McMahon said in ESPN's NBA Today, they're built on a foundation of two max players who might be the worst value contracts in the NBA. So let's take a look at what this guy was saying here.
Philadelphia 76ers are built on a flimsy foundation. They are built on a foundation of two max players who might be the two worst value contracts in the NBA. And it is not about talent. Joel Embiid and Paul George are incredibly talented players. It doesn't matter if you're doing that sitting on the bench in street clothes.
Play it again.
Philadelphia 76ers are built on a flimsy foundation. They are built on a foundation of two max players who might be the two worst value contracts in the NBA. And it is not about talent. Joel Embiid and Paul George are incredibly talented players. It doesn't matter if you're doing that sitting on the bench in street clothes.
I gotta agree, man. This goes to what I'm saying. I think the NBA in general, I think they have to do a significant review of some of the medical practices that are going on, because even if you look at all the players this year who had Achilles injuries, this year they had like the most Achilles injuries ever in NBA history. It was like 9 or 10 players throughout the whole season who got Achilles injuries. You had 3 players just in the playoffs alone: Damian Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jason Tatum all got Achilles tears in this year's playoffs. So there's some going. I think the NBA, especially the game, like what I was alluding to earlier, how the game has changed. It's a little bit more fast paced now. Some of the movements that they're doing, there's more movement, just play to play. They really have to take a look into some of their doctors, man. I don't know. I know a lot of people have talked about shortening the NBA season. That's a potential option as well too. I don't know if that's something that the NBA might want to look into. It's been 72 games, I believe, since the 1970s. 81 games since the 1970s. So I don't know what they're gonna do. Sorry, SKTV says it's true, bro. They can't stay on the court. Shake my head. Yeah, man, it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem, and I don't know what the NBA is doing. I mean, I can put it to y'all and see what y'all think as well too. SK, like the NBA, they have a huge problem with these injuries, man, and I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's a load management issue. I don't even think it's like they're not training or whatever like that, because these guys, they have the best trainers in the world, because the NBA is one of the richest sporting leagues in the world, right? They have the best trainers in the world, so the best doctors, everything. But I think it's just the game itself has changed so much. There's way more cuts. There's a lot more movement, play to play. There's, the way players attack the basket, like just the pace of the game overall is a lot faster. And the human body is not meant to move like that for an extended period of time, not for a 82 game plus season, plus playoffs over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So, and this is not a recent issue as well too. There was load management back in the 90s and the 2000s and other stuff as well too. And even though people want to act like that wasn't a thing, that was a thing back in the day as well too. But I think they definitely, and I'm sure Adam Silver and some of the NBA officials and the people who work behind the scenes are looking at that. But it is becoming a big problem when some of your biggest stars making the most money, because Paul George is making $211 million on a 4-year contract, bro, which is more money than most athletes see ever in any other sport. So, and then another fact of the NBA contracts are fully guaranteed, man. You cannot have these guys be sitting out making such money, because the fans are coming to see these dudes, bro. Like, if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, bro, you're going to a Philadelphia 76ers game, who are you watching, bro? Who are you really watching? You know what I mean? You're going to watch Tyrese Maxey. Is he the main guy that you're going to see? No, you want to see Joel Embiid and you want to see Paul George. So these injuries racking up is not good for the NBA, and it is not good for the 76ers right now as well. But we'll continue to monitor this and see what happens. They do say they're going to review Paul George and see if he's going to be healthy before the beginning of the season. I mean, it is a knee procedure that he underwent, so it takes time to be able to heal from that, to get back into game shape and game speed as well. So we're going to see what's going on with that. Okay, so we're going to head into our next story. We had a huge story with Bradley Beal. So Bradley Beal got bought out by the Phoenix Suns, and we're going to get into that right now. So Bradley Beal and the Suns reportedly had a heated contract buyout as the Suns wanted more. So as you all know, Bradley Beal got bought out by the Phoenix Suns, and he got bought out by a crazy amount. So anytime a player gets bought out by a team, bro, especially in the NBA, because the contracts are so large, it looks insane. Like, the cap hit that these teams are willing to take to be able to get rid of a player, especially one like Bradley Beal, where truth be told, they shouldn't have, had a contract that big for this guy in the first place. I don't know what the hell they were doing, bro. But these NBA players at this point, man, they're just getting these contracts and just straight to the bank, man. Just straight cha-ching, man. Anytime these guys are signing these contracts, it's just, that's all you hear. So the Phoenix Suns and Bradley Beal went their separate ways this offseason, but reportedly not before there were some heated discussions surrounding his eventual buyout. So Shams reported on Wednesday that Beal and Phoenix agreed to a contract buyout that allowed him to join the Los Angeles Clippers on a 2-year, $11 million deal. So Bradley Beal is now a Clipper, signed a 2-year, $11 million deal. So it's a super team friendly deal for the Clippers. Gives them some extra depth with Bradley Beal and allows them to be able to work around and sign some other players as well too. So that's pretty solid on their behalf. I think the Clippers had a pretty solid offseason as well. I'm not gonna lie. Even James Harden took a little bit of a pay cut with his extension just to be able to get other players as well. I think they were saying that one of the reasons they were able to get Bradley Beal was because James Harden actually took a pay cut. So that's pretty solid as well too. So Brian Windhorst explained that the buyout could only work if Beal left at least $13.9 million on the table, because a maximum of 15% of the salary cap can be allocated for bought out players. So the Suns hoped he would leave more, which led to heated talks before the guard left the least amount possible to make the waiver work to the penny. So this guy literally said, I'm gonna leave as little money on the table as possible to allow you to do the shit. Fuck y'all. That's essentially what he said. This guy did not care at all. This guy, yeah, bro. This guy did not care at all. He left the least amount of money on the table. That's how you know you're leaving bitter, bro. That's like an ex, you getting divorced and your ex just, milking you dry for everything to the last penny. Every last penny, man. Which, the thing about these teams is that these teams are always going to make money. They're always going to be rich. So if you're a player, man, for you to give up money on the table, like, especially if you and the GM or the owners have been butting heads, man, why would I let you have that extra money, man? Like, why would I make your situation better? So that's pretty much what Beal was on. So agent Mark Barlson said there were some intense conversations. Windhorst explained Beal's departure was not out of nowhere for the Suns. Beal met with his agent during the offseason, decided that he needed to move on from Phoenix if the opportunity presented itself. What's more, the team acquiring Jalen Green in the Kevin Durant trade left his role further undefined if he remained for the 2025-2026 campaign. The Suns gave him permission to speak to other teams about joining them after a possible buyout, and the Clippers became a realistic destination after they traded wing scorer Norman Powell to the Miami Heat. So
Insider Shams Charania. Shams, you reported this morning that finally the Suns and Bradley Beal, they have agreed to a contract buyout. Now he's headed to Los Angeles. What are the details of this deal with the Clippers?
Malika, this is loading. What's going on with this thing right here? Let's see. That's why it's smart to have a no trade clause. 2 reasons: if you're getting paid, regardless if they want to release you and if they want to get traded, forget where you want to go. Yeah, I mean, we're at the point now in the NBA where no trade clauses aren't really a thing that we're seeing in a lot of NBA contracts anymore. SKTV. I mean, right now there's I think only 2 players in the NBA who have no trade contracts, no trade clause, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that just to make sure. Let me see right here. I think it's LeBron is one of them. 3 players have no trade. Said hi. What's going on? So yeah, so there's only 2 players right now in the NBA who have no trade contracts. One is LeBron James, and the other one is Damian Lillard. And that Damian Lillard thing is only recently from him signing with the Portland Trailblazers, the team that he went back to, obviously his team that he started with. So yeah, the no trade clauses are, I'm not gonna say they're a thing of the past, but no trade clauses are becoming a lot less common in today's NBA, and it makes sense why too. Like, these players are getting paid so much money that like the teams have to have some sort of power, right? Like, NBA is a league where the power is always in the players' hands at this point, and players, if they want to demand a trade at any time, and players get traded all the time. So it's honestly one of the reasons why it's not as common as you're seeing before, is because players just want to be able to have the power to be able to go wherever they want to go. If they want to ask for a trade, or if their things aren't working out well in their in the current team that they're on, players want to have the power to be able to dip. So a lot of no trade contracts, like no trade clauses, are just not really a thing anymore. It's really only top level players that can even ask for no trade clauses at this point, and even then, a lot of them don't do it. So I mean, that's why you saw Luka getting traded last year, that huge trade that happened that just blew everybody's mind. But yeah, no trade clauses are becoming a lot less common in NBA contracts than they were before. But shout out to you, SKTV, man. I appreciate you, you know what I mean, being in the chat and all that stuff like that. Sorry, let's get back to the article. What was that article at? Let's see here. Oh, they were talking about Sean.
So Bradley Beal gave up almost $14 million to buy out of the Phoenix Suns and join the Los Angeles Clippers. 2 years, $11 million. His deal will have a player option next summer, so he's slated to be one of the top free agents next offseason. But this is someone that had $110 million left on his contract over the next 2 years. Obviously, did not work out in Phoenix. It was a failed 2-year experiment with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. And so over the last few weeks, Bradley Beal, his representative Mark Bartelstein, they've been talking and meeting with several teams around the league, aside from the Clippers.
So this man gave up $13.9 million in the buyout, and that's like the very close to the least amount that he wanted to give up. So he essentially penny pinched them down to the max amount that he's willing to give up in his contract. But he's still going to get paid too. Like, he still had $100 million left on his contract. So he's still going to get paid that portion by the Phoenix Suns. Because NBA contracts are fully guaranteed. So even though they bought him out the amount, that cap amount for this specific season or the next season, they still have to pay him that full amount that they owed him in that contract that he signed, which is a huge amount of money. So we should see blah 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 blah. Let's go here. I wanted to see the actual amount that they owed him. Let's take a look here. How much do the Suns still owe Bradley Beal? Yeah, so they took that cap hit, but there'll be a dead cap hit of $19.4 million that will stay on the Phoenix Suns books for the next 5 years, but they still owe him $97 million. $97 million. And let's see here. One's on contract. Suns. So, and this is one of those things where you can tell that the Suns are like not a greatly managed team, because they had KD, they traded him. They had Mike Budenholzer, the coach they signed, I believe it was last year that they signed as a new coach. They fired him, but they signed him to a $50 million contract as well. So they still owe him $50 million. So they owe him $50 million. They have to pay Bradley Beal $97 million, which they will still probably spread over the next 5 years. So they're just trying to rebuild with the trades that they have now. They got rid of they re-signed Devin Booker to a contract extension. I feel like Devin Booker is going to be a lifelong Sun. I don't think he's ever going to change teams. I think he's pretty loyal to the Suns organization, and he has a good relationship with the GM and the owners. So I think Devin Booker will most likely be a Sun for life. But they got rid of Bradley Beal now. They got rid of Kevin Durant, and now they got some new young blood in there. with Jalen Green, who they got in the trade. So I don't know. I personally don't think that the Suns are the greatest run organization. I mean, you just hired a new coach who you just fired, and now you got to find a new coach. You still have to pay him $50 million. You still have to pay Bradley Beal $97 million. So it's just a little bit of a mess all over. But shout out to the Suns, man. But we did see Kevin Durant after this report came out. He reacted to this on social media. So it says NBA star Kevin Durant reacts to Bradley Beal's viral post after the Suns exit. Kevin Durant commented on his former Phoenix Suns teammates' post. So this is what Kevin Durant says. So Bradley Beal posted this after the buyout. You know, him and some Phoenix Suns gear, a couple pictures, and he just said, simple, peace sign, man. He said, I'm out. Good look, bro. Shout out to SKTV. Good look, bro. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate that game. He said one person who reacted to the post was Kevin Durant, who spent his last 2 seasons with Beal on the Suns. His comment had 7,000 likes in 2 hours, and it was just a simple smiley face or laughing emoji. So that is the end of the KD Bradley Beal era in Phoenix. And I must say, man, this era was just a resounding failure, if you ask me, man. The Suns, I believe, made it to the playoffs once with Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. They were never successful. I believe they got knocked off in the first round. And they had the same issues that they always have when they trade for Kevin Durant, is that the team had no depth. I think the days in the NBA of just being able to trade for a bunch of different all-stars and putting them on a team are long gone. You cannot do that anymore. And I think that's what the Phoenix Suns tried to do. They thought that with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and with Bradley Beal, they'd be able to have enough firepower just to be able to blow teams out offensively. And I don't think that works anymore in today's NBA. Teams are able to adapt defensively. And once these guys do have to get rest on the bench, and you have to put, your backups in there or your bench players in there, and there's not enough depth defensively, those teams are lacking and they're going to get blown out. And we saw what happened with the Suns. I mean, the Suns were just an I team. They weren't necessarily good or bad the entire time that they were there. It was just Bradley Beal had his injury issues as well too. And I just don't think it worked out, man. I think with Kevin Durant, this last couple of teams that he's been on, I think it shows that he's not necessarily the number one. He's not going to be the guy that leads the team. Kevin Durant is still obviously one of the best offensive players ever in NBA history, and this dude is still a monster. But I don't think he's the guy that you need to be able to lead the team to the promised land, man. I think Kevin Durant, the way he worked on Golden State was the best for him. You have Steph Curry, who's the main guy. Maybe you have, Klay Thompson, who's like a spot-up shooter or something like that. And you have Kevin Durant with a lot of movement, moving around, catching the ball off the ball, being able to kill you, dribbling, shot, whatever it is. But having him being able to move around, be free, and not be that first option, I think is the best option for Kevin Durant. Because honestly, since Kevin Durant has left the Golden State Warriors, he has not found any success, and he has not been anywhere close to the NBA Finals since he's left the Golden State Warriors. After he left the Golden State Warriors, he went to the Brooklyn Nets. We already know how that went. That was a disaster. Brooklyn Nets, Phoenix Suns, and it just hasn't worked out. So I honestly don't think at this point in his career, especially when he's older, that Kevin Durant is a first option on the team. I think he works best as the second to the number one, as like a 1-2 punch to seal the game off. And I think you still need to have a team with a lot of depth to be able to win in this modern day NBA. Like you look at a team like OKC, or even off the bench, or the Indiana Pacers this season as well too. You still have your main guys, but you also have your bench with a lot of depth, be able to shoot, defend, and keep the games competitive without just having 3 all-stars just to take the game over. Like in this modern NBA, that does not work anymore. So yeah, I said with that, so we covered Bradley Beal, we covered Paul George. We got some other random stuff here. We got Cam Thomas, who went crazy on a journalist. So journalist Zach Lowe talked about Cam Thomas. He said the consensus on Cam Thomas, if there's one, and he's got some fans, he's got some mega detractors, but the consensus is kind of empty calories ball hog. So that is what Zach Lowe, an NBA reporter, said about Cam Thomas after he got traded. But Cam Thomas, man, this guy clapped back with this is what he said. Cam Thomas says, the consensus, fuck you in the consensus, Zach Lowe. This is the most likely the same consensus teams who can't guard me and send double teams from jump ball. Why are we double teaming a guy who's not that good? Make it make sense, please. So this guy was not happy at all, bro. He just went on, went on, dude. And I'll be honest, bro. Sometimes I like to see players snap back at some of the reporters, some of the fans, even because, bro, on the internet, man, everybody gets to do their hot takes all day long. You know what I mean? And you don't ever think that these players are ever going to respond to you. But sometimes they got time, bro. Sometimes they got time today. So sometimes they're gonna make that response. SKTV says to be the organizations, bro. They be trash, bro. You are not lying, bro. Some of these organizations, other places, they be it's organized. Yeah, man. Honestly, and that's one thing. Growing up, let's see, there's some Clippers news here. That's one thing growing up that you start to notice, especially when you're watching ball or whatever sport you're in. The organization that the players are in matter just as much as the players on the field or on the court or whatever sport you're watching. The organization matters, bro. There's a reason why some teams always win, or at least are always competitive all the time, no matter what's going on. Maybe there's some years they may have like a couple years where they're not as good. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's going to be sometimes you can't be good forever. There's going to be some off years, but there's a difference between organizations that are constantly always in the mix and are always good, and ones that are just completely shit, man. And it's not an accident, bro. And when you think about it, it makes sense too. Like, I don't know how old y'all are, but like, if y'all have ever worked before, you probably worked in a place that had like shitty management. You know what I mean? The workers didn't really give a shit because the managers didn't really give a shit. And you see the environment is just dysfunctional. You know what I mean? It's like when the managers don't care, the owners don't care, nobody cares. So like, why should I care? You know what I mean? But there's other places maybe you've worked where you're like, okay, the managers care, the owners care. Everybody seems like they're here to do their job and do it well. And it's completely different, bro. So it's no different in these sports. Just because there's a lot more money going on, these players are making millions and millions of dollars, does not change the fact that ownership matters, management matters, and the way that you manage a team plays a large part in how far that team is going to go. And there's a reason why certain franchises are always going to be good and always going to be stable under their ownership. And there's a certain reason why some ownership, like in the NBA, the Sacramento Kings, man, everybody talks about how the Sacramento Kings are one of the most poorly managed teams. And it's no surprise that they had all those stars and they traded them all away. So it is what it is, man. I like Cam Thomas. Yo, Cam Thomas is super tough though. I rock with Cam Thomas as well too, man. He's super tough. And who you got? I think he got traded to Denver, right? Cam Thomas, if I'm not mistaken. He got traded to. Let me double check that just to make sure. Where did he get traded to? I might forget. He got traded like pretty recently as well, if I'm not mistaken. I do not remember where he got traded to. But nah, Cam Thomas is super tough. I think a lot of those players on the Nets team were super tough. But you know, I think a lot of them just didn't get a chance to get their shine. And the Nets are a team that are rebuilding as well too. They also have a lot of draft picks. We're gonna see what they do with the draft picks that they got this year. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. A lot of people do think that the Nets in this specific draft, because they had so many picks, a lot of people think that they missed with a lot of their picks, but only time will tell with this stuff. You know what I mean? So let's see here. Clippers executive Lawrence Frank sees a big year for Bradley Beal in 2026. Not to take any sort of slight at Phoenix, but playing with James Harden is a whole different than what their situation was. Yeah, I'm gonna call that a reach, my guy. I think that's a little bit of a reach. This dude is reaching, bro. This dude is definitely reaching, man. Definitely reaching. I mean, I definitely think that the Clippers are a better fit for Bradley Beal, especially what they got going on. But Bradley Beal's an older guy. He's had a lot of injury issues in the past as well. And the Clippers are no stranger to injury issues as well too. You got Kawhi Leonard who has his injury issues, right? So I don't know, man. I think it might just be more of the same. But I think it's dope that he at least gets a shot to be able to, leave the Suns, because clearly that wasn't working, and be able to get another shot where he can get a little bit of a better experience. But I do think James Harden is a better facilitator than maybe a Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. So maybe it might look a little bit better for him. But anyways, I think that's all we had for today, if I'm not mistaken. Is there anything else? No, we pretty much got into everything today. So yeah, that's Game of Basketball, man. I think next time I'm going to go over that Joel Embiid story. It is quite a long article, but it's actually pretty insightful just to be able to take a look into what Joel Embiid went into in his early days in the NBA, what he had to go through, some of his injury troubles. So I think I might go through that article the next time I'm on the live. but it is a really, really large article. Maybe I might just make a video about it as well too. But anyways, y'all, this is Keep It Basketball. I'm going to be live streaming a little bit more. I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to do at least once per week. It's been really busy recently, so I haven't been able to get on here as much as I want to. But I'm going to try as much as possible. I'm going to be busy as hell pretty much up until September. And then in September, I'm going to try to get on here a lot more once, and definitely in October. In October, once the NBA season comes back on, we're going to be live streaming a lot of the games as well too. I do live watch alongs as well, like we did for the NBA finals. So a lot of the important games that are coming on, once the NBA kickoff is on, we're going to be live streaming a lot of those games. So I'm going to have y'all come in here with me, and we're going to be live streaming all those games together. It's going to be dope. We're building a community here, man. This is Keep It Basketball. I like getting on here and talking with all of y'all about basketball, what's going on in the league and stuff like that. And yeah, for now, I'm going to keep everybody updated what's going on in the offseason, because there's quite a bit of trade still going on, quite a bit of news still coming out. It's been a little bit more quiet this week. But I think as we get closer to the NBA season, things will start picking up again. There's also rumblings about LeBron as well, too. It looks like LeBron might be announcing his retirement soon enough. There's rumors that LeBron might be announcing his 2026 retirement tour for this NBA season, man. So it looks like this might be the last season for LeBron. I think it was Cam Johnson who got traded to Denver. Yeah, let me double check that. Cam Johnson. Was it Cam Johnson that got traded to Denver? Trade. I think you might be right here. Let me trade to Denver. Yeah, it was Cam Johnson. Yeah, it was Cam Johnson who got traded to Denver. Yeah, Cam Johnson is tough, man. He's super, super tough. I don't know why you have these random reporters and shit hating on him. It's like, bro, do these reporters even watch basketball, dog? I feel like a lot of the times these dudes don't watch basketball at all. Okay, I think Cam Johnson is super tough. I think he's a perfect addition to Denver, honestly. I think the issue with Denver Nuggets was that they didn't have enough depth and they needed more shooters. They needed more relief. I think Jamal Murray was a little bit inconsistent in the playoffs as well. And Michael Porter Jr. wasn't playing that well either. So I think for them to be able to trade for a Cam Johnson, I think he's literally the perfect piece. Because Nikola Jokic, bro, the way he has the ball, the way he has so much attention from everybody on the court, he just needs spot-up shooters all around and be able to hit shots, man. And that's what he needs, spot-up shooters to hit shots. And he needs some guys that are able to play defense as well, too. So I think this is a great addition for the New York Nets. And I think Cam Johnson is tough, man. I think that reporter is absolutely tripping, bro. But I like the fact that Cam Johnson clapped back at him. But yeah, like I was saying before that, it looks like LeBron James may be on his retirement tour. And let me see if I can find that post that was saying that. I'm going to scroll through this, and then I'm going to log off here. Here's the WNBA players when they pay us what you owe us shirts. This is what I went over towards the beginning of the stream. WNBA players are asking for more money. Their collective bargaining agreement is coming up as well. Their current collective bargaining agreement ends in October of this year. And if they do not come to a new agreement, then there is going to be potentially a WNBA lockout. And the WNBA players are asking for more money. So we went over that a little bit earlier. Marcus Smart got traded to the Los Angeles, or not traded. He signed a contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. So this happened just yesterday. Marcus Smart signed a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. So Lakers have been making moves during the offseason, man. They got themselves a center, and they got Marcus Smart. They got some more defensive pieces. Marcus Smart is a phenomenal defensive player. So it looks like they're building for the future. They know that LeBron's going to be leaving or potentially announcing his retirement tour next year for the 2026 season. It looks like the 2026 season might be the last for the Lakers. So, sorry, for LeBron James. Luka Doncic, another thing with Luka Doncic has lost a lot of weight as well in this offseason. So I think he took getting traded from the Dallas Mavericks extremely personal. And this guy's been calorie crunching, bro. He's been doing his thing. But where's that post about LeBron? I wanted to see. I'm not sure if I'm able to find it. Let me see if I got it saved here. Some shit's bookmarked. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not able to find it. But if there is an official report that comes out, I will be looking at it, and I'll be making sure that we cover that in the next live stream. I'll most likely be live streaming probably either this Wednesday or next Sunday. Something like that. I'll be deciding to. Just make sure y'all look out and see. I'll be on whatever platform you're watching me on, whether it's Twitch, Kick, YouTube, whatever like that. I'll be posting a schedule soon. But yeah, that's everything we're covering for today, man. I appreciate anybody who's rocking with us, anybody who's watching today. And we'll be back next week with everything from the NBA. And I'll keep y'all up to date. And yeah, we'll be covering everything as it gets closer to the kickoff as well too, or NBA tip off for the new season in October. But yeah, peace out to everybody who's watching today, man. I definitely appreciate y'all, and I'll be back soon. Peace.